And welcome back to Doing Life Radio. I'm Sam.
And I'm Joyce. We're a married couple living in South Jersey, talking about all things life with a special focus on food, fitness, and faith.
And today we have a little bit of a food focus.
Yeah, kind of sidebar.
So we're talking about backyard chickens.
Yeah, not any backyard chickens. We're talking about our backyard chickens.
Believe it or not, we are backyard chicken owners and raisers and eaters.
Well, we don't eat the chickens. We eat the eggs.
But you'll hear more about that later on.
Yeah, check out the podcast.
Okay, here we go. We're starting another episode of Doing Life Radio.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this on the podcast, you may not be aware of this fact, but Sam insisted on wearing a cowboy hat for this episode. So why don't you tell the people why?
Well, because I'm a farmer. And
oh, you are a farmer.
I'm a full-fledged, bred, homegrown farmer.
News to me.
I have a flock of chickens.
Okay, well, we do have a flock of chickens. That's
exactly.
true.
And I think you have to have a little bit of farmer in you to own some chickens. So today we're going to talk about chickens.
We are going to talk about chickens. I have absolutely no farmer in me whatsoever. Several years ago, Sam came up with this grand idea that we were going to raise chickens. Mm-hmm. And I was not very keen on the idea. I'm never keen on the idea of getting living creatures other than our two children. I don't need anything in my life that causes me any extra work than we already have taken on. I just don't find it enjoyable, but you do. You like it a lot.
I love it, and I would have so much more. Yeah, if it wasn't for you holding me back,
that's
I
it. I hold him back. That's
you
basically the gist of this podcast.
The darkness in my life.
Yeah. So anyway, this darkness that he speaks of has allowed him to go ahead and purchase these chickens and go about this hobby, but it was with a caveat that I'm going to be pretty hands off. I don't really want to raise chickens.
Yep.
But I'm happy to allow you to raise chickens if that's what you want to do with your life.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. We're talking today about backyard chickens. When I tell people we have chickens, people are fascinated by that. They want to know all kinds of things. So I thought I would kind of ask you a lot of the questions that I get, especially in the salon when I'm talking about having chickens. I get a ton of questions. So I thought let's kind of delve into backyard chickens.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. Let's start with like the basics. Like we don't live on a farm. Like we definitely
don't live on a farm.
We kind of live in an urban-like area. I wouldn't call it city so much, but we're definitely not in the suburbia or anything like that.
We're in middle ground.
Yeah, but we're not out on the outskirts of things. So we do have a little bit of property. We're blessed to. We probably have about 1.25 acres, and some municipalities you have to have at least that much land before you can own backyard chickens. So that's one of the first and foremost. You have to have at least 1 acre plus before you can own any backyard chickens. But you'd be surprised how little, like a lot of municipalities and your city and stuff like that, how little land you actually have to own chickens.
Well, they don't take up a ton of space.
Nope.
I mean, we have a coop, so why don't you tell them, like, what do you need to put chickens in?
Well, you need a chicken coop. So, that's
So how do you do that? I mean, you can't just go buy a chicken coop, or can you?
You actually can go buy a chicken coop. There's a lot of different options you have for them. Now, I happen to be very handy, and I like to build things and get involved that way. So for me, I custom built our coop. There's lots of different ways. I did a ton of research. I think we're probably going into our 5th year now with chickens.
Yeah, maybe.
Something like we've had them a lot longer than we think I have. So I did a lot of research online about what different coops are. I was going to buy plans to buy something. Ultimately, I just kind of looked and saw what looked like something I wanted. You have to really know how big your flock is going to be before you figure out how you're going to house them. So if you're going to do something like our neighbor probably has in a range of like 30 to 40 chickens, he needs a significantly bigger coop than we need.
Right.
We're looking in the range of 8 to 10 chickens, so our coop requirements are a lot smaller. There's something like 4 square foot per bird in the coop. They need to have somewhere to perch overnight. And I don't know how do you describe perching? Like,
well, I guess it's like rows on top of each other for them to stand on.
Yeah, you have bars, because what they do is they grasp the bar with their feet, and then they fluff out their feathers so they're nice and warm. They use their feathers as insulation. They roost on the bar overnight. That's how they sleep for the night. Now, we have it in I designed it in a staggered fashion, so they kind of layer up. Chickens have a they have a pecking order, and we'll
Yeah.
probably reference that. So the higher ones in the pecking order, the rooster and a couple of the hens, the higher they go, the more important they are in their sleeping area. So you have to have room for them to sleep. You have to have bedding in there, and it's really pine shavings, cedar shavings, stuff like that. But you have to have enough space so they can jump up, jump down
Yeah.
from the
And a
thing.
space for them to lay eggs.
And then, of course, what they call nesting boxes, right? If you're going to have chickens, chances are you're having them because you want them to lay eggs, and you want to get into, some backyard eggs.
Really, the only benefit of having chickens is you get
Right.
eggs and you have something to give your leftovers to.
There are people who have chickens as pets, but ours are primarily for the eggs
Right.
and a little bit of the responsibility for the kids. It's
The
just
kids
something
like having chickens,
to
especially our youngest.
learn and explore. So you have to have nesting boxes. One of the questions people always ask is, does a bird need their own nesting box? And the answer is no. You need multiple boxes. So we have, for example, we have 8 laying hens, and we have 3 nesting boxes. They tend to use whatever box is available. It has to be a protected space so the bird feels safe when it's laying its eggs. It is a long process.
There's nothing creepier than opening the little box to get the eggs and there's a hen there and you're like, oh, sorry, ma'am. It's like walking in on someone in the bathroom. You're like, excuse me, I'll just come back
Awkwardly
later.
staring at you
This is
like,
very bizarre. Yeah.
hey, I'm doing something here.
Okay, so basically you need to make sure you have enough land and you need to get yourself set up with a chicken coop, which
Right. And then you need a protected space for them. So,
to lay
like,
their eggs.
what the nesting box to lay their
okay.
eggs, but also for their living space. There are, even in our area, which we're not too far off from, from the town or something like that, there are predators. So you have to give them a safe space.
We have, in fact, lost some chickens to
Right.
hawks.
Yeah, we have. Actually, we learned a lesson pretty early on about the importance of having a rooster, and we'll go into that a little bit. But a rooster can help protect your flock. That's his goal, is to protect the hens. We had a hawk early on. We had 4 birds. We had a nice little, beautiful rooster. He was a very unique breed. Looked good. The kids, he was dark gray in color, and the kids named him Bruce Wing.
That was pretty cute.
We were naming all the chickens based on superhero names, and he was Bruce Wing, and he was protecting our birds. Unfortunately, a hawk got into the thing, and Bruce ended up giving up his life to protect the other birds.
So yeah, that is something pretty cool. I did not know about chickens until we brought them into our lives. But the importance of having a rooster is so that he will take care of the hens. And if a predator comes, the rooster will sacrifice himself so that the hens don't get eaten. So
Yeah, the rooster.
a man who
is
knows
the
his
one-
place. I like a rooster.
The rooster will step out to defend and take care of his flock. So ultimately, in this case, he ended up giving up his life, and it's actually one of the stories that we brag about in this house.
Yeah.
He was a superhero
Good
bird.
old Bruce Wing.
Yeah, and he saved everyone's. But you need a safe space where the predators can't get in, where the hawks can't fly down and get at them, where the raccoons are definitely another big nuisance when it comes to them. Possum, I've heard a lot of people complain about possums. Possums aren't in it to get the birds, to kill the birds. They might steal the eggs.
Oh.
But possum are more a matter of convenience. They're not going to do a lot of snooping around.
I hear
for
people.
that.
I get this question all the time. People are asking me, "What about snakes?" Like that, you can't have chickens because they bring snakes. But we've never once
seen
run
a
into a
snake.
snake in
Nope,
the
not
past
at
5
all.
years of having chickens.
I had a
so
giant stone
we
pile.
don't have an issue with that.
One time, and as I'm moving the stone pile, there was like a bunch of garter snakes, little snakes, but
I
nothing
did
around
not
the
know
chicken
this
coop.
story before right now.
They also talk about bringing in mice and rodents and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but we
we
haven't
don't
had
deal with any of that.
Nothing whatsoever. I think the most nuisance we've had is squirrels eating the birds' food. So
Yeah.
that's been the biggest nuisance. But yeah, you need a safe space both for them to sleep and at night, and then for them to be during the day. But even having said that, if chickens they will clear out a land. Like they will just totally
Yeah.
till up. And if you watch chickens or you've seen a cartoon or anything about it, that's all
They're
they
always just moving
dig,
their
dig.
little,
dig peck dig
what do you
peck.
call them?
That's
Their
kind of what
little
they do.
nails?
Claws.
Claws. They're always digging their little claws in wherever they go.
Yep. Scratch, peck. That's what they do, and they will turn any space that you can find them into just a dirt hole because they'll
Yeah.
eat all the greens. They'll draw out all
And
the
so we
bugs.
do let our chickens out frequently to just graze on the grass in our,
the yard,
yard.
yeah.
And then at night they just put themselves back in the coop. They don't really run away.
Yeah, chickens are very much homebodies. They won't roam too far away from home. They always come back to roost. It's a common statement, but they do. They will find their way back home, and so you don't have to really worry about it. You can set this thing up open all day long. They will
Yeah.
find their way back home. They'll never wander too far off from their water source. So
We
even
had
though,
one who liked to sleep in a tree. He was a weird one, but
yeah,
that's not normal.
yeah, that was a process. I thought I had lost him, and then he showed up one night. I'm out with a
Found
flashlight.
himself a bed spot, and it
Found
was
him
in a random tree, and
pretty
he was
high up
pretty
too. It was like
consistent about wanting to sleep there.
10, 12 feet up. He had to hop a couple branches. I was pretty
Yeah.
impressed with them.
So where does one purchase a chicken?
There's a lot of different places to purchase chicken, but I think the easiest thing for a lot of people, especially in our area, is a Tractor Supply store or
Okay.
any like farmer supply store, something like that. And if you go by that, they'll call it like Chick Days, and usually early spring, especially this time of the year, what we're recording right around
Around
Easter.
Easter.
They are totally flooding with that. You can find all kinds of different birds, and now chickens. There are so many different types of chickens. Just the same way, like there's different types of dogs. There are different types of chickens, different colors, different breeds.
And they lay
They
different color eggs.
lay different color eggs. Our eggs, it's not just the two colors you see in the store, brown or white. We get green, we get kind of a pinkish color, a bluish color. We used to have a chicken that laid some speckled eggs. Like
Yeah,
it's
they
a
are. They're very beautiful. We definitely don't need to decorate eggs for Easter anymore. They're
we
already
just lay them out on the
decorated.
counter. But yeah, if you're looking to buy like different breeds of chickens, the Tractor Supply store is the easiest one. There's usually some mom and pop kind of places around that are selling different breeds, specialty breeds. Craigslist, I remember we had too many roosters one time because we had a bunch of chicks grow up. And you really only need one rooster for your farm. You don't need a rooster. We'll get into that, but
Well, to protect them is
yeah, so I went on to Craigslist and sold a rooster. So you can always go on the Craigslist, something like that. Specialty stores have them online. You'd be surprised how easy it is to get the birds. Now, what they do is they give you quantity limits because chickens are social animals. They need to live in that minimum pair, but you're
right.
looking at 3 to 4 to really give them a good social group. So you'll go in to the Tractor Supply store, and you have to buy four at
Wow.
minimum. You have to get four of them. You have to sign up your information. You have to let them know where you're at because they're not inclined just to sell it to you for Easter. They don't.
Right.
They
They don't
want
want you to give your child a small little chick that they play with for a couple of days and then it dies.
right. So
Yeah.
they're definitely trying to take care of that process, and I honor that process
Sure.
as well too.
So when I tell people that we have a rooster, they're horrified because they think now we're eating these fertilized eggs and we can't do that, right?
No, you can eat the eggs, fertilized or not. The
Yeah.
the unique thing about chicken eggs is it might be fertilized, but it's not incubated until it reaches a certain temperature. And I believe that's like 88 degrees or something like that. You think about birds laying on their eggs to hatch them. A chicken, when it goes broody, they call it broody. When a chicken basically is ready to be a mom, she's going to gather together some eggs over time. So you're thinking the egg might be fertilized and sitting there for a week or two,
Yeah.
but it does not go into action or start developing until it reaches that certain temperature, and it won't reach that temperature until the mama bird sits on it.
Yeah. So not all chickens want to have eggs hatch. They're called broody when they want their eggs to hatch, and they'll sit on a bunch of eggs. And it doesn't really matter if they laid those eggs or some other chicken laid those eggs. You could just randomly put other eggs underneath the broody mama and see
Yeah,
if
they're
they
not
hatch.
particular.
They really don't care if they're their eggs or not. So that's pretty funny. So when we have a broody bird, we decide if we want to have baby chicks or not.
Depends on the time of the year and where
Yeah.
we're going around. There's a whole lot of factors that play into whether you want chicks or not, because you can't just say, "Oh, I want chicks," because eventually they're going to grow up into birds. You have to have space for them
Right.
and be ready to go, and all that. But yeah, I mean, do you? The question we also get an awful lot is, do you need a rooster to get eggs?
No.
The answer is no. A lot of people are surprised. Most other scenarios, you need mommy bird, daddy bird. Uh, we won't go into too many details about that. You can ask your science teacher, but all that
Yeah.
stuff. But chickens, the hens are raised, developed, whatever. They lay almost daily, at least every other day
Yeah.
when
And
they're healthy.
doesn't matter whatsoever if the egg has been fertilized or not. You've probably eaten plenty of eggs that are fertilized and plenty that were not, and there's really no difference whatsoever.
Chances are the ones you buy at the store are not fertilized because those are chickens. Ninety
They're
percent
like
of the
mass
time,
production
they're
chickens.
just sitting in a cage. They're sitting in a warehouse, something like that. I did read somewhere that like a cage-free bird doesn't necessarily mean that they're out in the wild and living and eating grass. It just
It
means
means the door is open.
they're in a giant shed and a
Yeah,
little two
there's a
by two
door
door
open.
is open.
And probably the only chickens that are seeing the light of day are the ones that are shoved up against the door. So that doesn't mean a whole lot, unfortunately.
Right. So those are pumped in with a lot of stuff. So most of the eggs you buy from the store are not, they're definitely not fertilized because the roosts, they're being split apart when they're at young age. The roosters are being sent off to, to KFC
Oh
and
my.
the hens are being set off to lay their eggs and all that stuff. So,
But
but
our chickens aren't really chickens that you would eat. I know you could eat them, but
correct.
they're not, they're considered chickens that you use to lay eggs.
Right. There's a bunch of different types of chickens, and I wish I'd done a little more research, but the meat birds,
Right.
are genetically altered. They're raised within 6 to 8 weeks after they're hatched. They are ready. They are full size birds that you would
Which
find in the
is
store.
so
They
absurd.
grow so fast, so quick. Literally, if they are not cold, if they're not cold, they're not killed. Within those 8 weeks, they will die from suffocation because they will continue to grow at such a rate that they can't support their own body. They will literally die under the weight of their own body if
So
not taken
we're
care of.
feeding these birds something that makes them so fat that if they don't die by being butchered, they'll eventually just kill themselves
Correct.
by their own weight. And then we're feeding them to ourselves and our children, and then we're wondering why there's a weight epidemic in America. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what's
Okay, just
happening.
making
So
sure we're on the same
this
page.
good lean meat and stuff like that are these fast growing birds that are designed, have been genetically altered and hormone fed.
That's why it's so
They'll
important to
grow.
make sure when you're buying chicken, you're getting hormone-free, organic, free-range chickens because
Now the
it
breed
is
still
scary.
grows. The breed is still like that's the way the breed. Everyone. That's the way that they're designed to they grow faster. So I mean, aside, not every single one of them is being pumped with the hormones, but so the ones we have are just natural egg laying. There's a bunch of different breed types. The buff Orpingtons, the gold crested this or that, all kinds of we have the Wyandottes right now. We have a large what do they call it, the Jersey Giants right now is going to be growing up, but they take a lot more time to grow and develop. Yeah, one of the big questions people always ask: do you
Are
eat
you gonna
them?
eat your chickens?
The answer is no. We are not eating our backyard chickens. Now, one, because it's just a process. I mean, we do. I
We're
do.
not butchers.
Yeah, we're definitely not butchers. We have friends who are butchers who do butcher their own chickens. But I've also heard through that if a chicken is 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, that the meat really isn't worth it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
not
that
great.
good. It's like tough. It's stringy. It doesn't taste that good. So no, we
It's not
don't.
worth it.
Yeah, we don't eat our chickens. Plus, over the time period, I grew fond of them. Like
Yeah, people they do ask, are they friendly?
oh yeah, all our chickens are friendly to an extent. They're still chickens, so they're still a little bit afraid.
But they
Uh,
like when we come outside because they know we're bringing them leftovers. So they see us coming and they get all excited and they start running toward
if they're out in
us.
the yard, they'll start come running
Yeah, they'll
after
run right
us.
up to the porch if they see we have a plate of food.
So they're definitely friendly. We have in the past had roosters that were not friendly,
Yeah, we
and
had one that really had to go because he was nasty.
they have gone to a special farm.
That's right.
We took care of that. Anything that attacks us is not worth hanging on to on that end.
Yeah. Yeah, so for the most part, you and the boys like the chickens. The
Hmm.
chickens like us. We don't eat our chickens, but we
No,
do eat their eggs. And eggs is probably the number one reason
yeah, that's
for
what
you
kind
to
of
have
that's what
chickens.
got you on board too. Is the eggs? You were okay with the
Yeah,
backyard
I
eggs.
did like the idea of having eggs where I knew where they were sourced. I knew, what chickens they came from, and I knew what was in the chicken's diet. As a matter of fact, I get so annoyed when they give the chickens like fast food that it's leftover or something. I'm like, stop, don't ruin their diet because we have to eat their eggs. Let's try and keep their diet as clean as possible. Like, really, they should be eating grass. You can feed your chickens meat. I know that one people
Yeah, they're
find to be
carnivores.
shocking.
Hmm.
When you feed when I give them like our leftover veggies, people are like, "Oh, great, you're giving them leftover veggies." But when I give them the leftover meat, people are like, "What are you doing?" They're losing their minds. But they're meant to eat meat.
Yeah, they're designed. They are carnivores. They're one of the best things that I like to do is when we're done with our Thanksgiving turkey is instead of throwing it away,
Just
give
give
it
them
to
the
them.
whole
They will
carcass.
pick that thing clean, and it is such a morbid picture
Yeah,
watching chickens around like this bird body just kind of devouring
it's a
and,
little
and
disturbing.
cleaning it up. We have lots of fun with that. But yeah, they're great garbage disposals. But yeah, eventually everything that goes into their body will ultimately make it through to the eggs. Like they say, if you feed them onions or garlic or something like that, then that you'll get
It can
that
alter
flavor
the
tint
taste.
into
Yeah.
the eggs. Um,
So eggs are really considered to be the perfect food. It's got almost a perfect like balance of nutrition. I
Now,
just
don't they change it like every year? Doesn't someone says, "Oh, eggs are the worst," and the next year, eggs are the best?
well,
They're always changing these
I think it
things.
also depends on who you're following. So if you know anything about us, we follow kind of a keto-ish
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle. And most people who are, keto, paleo, that sort of thing, low carb, do recognize egg as a very healthy source of food.
Right.
Not not an issue with cholesterol or anything like that. That being said, please discuss it with your doctor and decide for yourselves.
Yeah.
We think it's one of the most healthy foods you can eat. One egg, 78 calories, so that's next to nothing. 5 grams of fat, so we're high fat, but that's not a lot of fat. If you're not high fat, eggs are still great for
Right.
you. Zero point 0.6 grams of carbs, so not even a whole gram of carbs in an egg. No sugar, no fiber, 6 grams of protein. So yeah, just an overall well-balanced, healthy food. Something I found really interesting is I have a girlfriend who is very sensitive to eggs. I don't know that she's actually allergic to eggs, but
Okay.
she's very sensitive and she gets a lot of inflammation from eggs. But when she eats our eggs from our backyard chickens, she has no problem digesting whatsoever. So there's something going on with supermarket eggs that causes her
Right.
a lot of trouble. But when she has them from like a farmer's market or from our chickens, she's got no problem at all. So I don't know what's going on
There's got to be
there.
something about the hormones and
That's
everything they're
that's
putting
what
into
we
it.
suspect. Another thing I wanted to point out with eggs is a lot of people like to eat egg whites, like egg white omelets. It's a really popular
Mm-hmm.
thing when you're trying to lose weight. We did that for a while when we were SoCon. We would buy the
Yeah.
container of the egg white and we wouldn't eat the yolk because we didn't want the calories. Um, but what I've learned since then is that people who suffer from inflammation from eggs, that's all from the white of the eggs. There's
Really?
all of the inflammation issues or digestion issues if someone has with eggs,
Comes from the white
it
part.
comes from the white
Huh.
part. The yellow part, now, yes, that is where you have the fat and the calories, but it's where you have all the nutritional benefits, and
Right.
that's where you have the protein. So, ideally, eat the whole egg. But if you have a problem with indigestion or with inflammation, I meant to say, then try to just eat the egg yolk.
Huh. And really, when I was younger, did you see a lot of hard-boiled eggs when you were younger?
I love hard boiled eggs,
Like,
yes, when I was younger and even now.
would you like eat the yellow part separate or as part of all
Oh
together?
no, I saved the yellow part for last.
You ate it separately?
Yep.
Oh, I could never. I could never eat them separately. Like I didn't like egg white separate from the yolk, and I definitely didn't like the yolk separate from the egg white. I
You
had to
eat
have
it
it
all
together.
together. It's like eating an Oreo together. You have to take it apart.
No, it's not. I had to put it all together, put a little bit of salt on
Oh
it. It was
yeah, you gotta
perfect.
put some
I used
salt
to
on
watch
it.
it. People they'd split it in half, take the yolk, and throw the yolk away,
Oh
and then eat the white part.
no,
I know they were wasting everything.
that's the good stuff.
And I like well now you too. You're making a lot of deviled eggs. That's kind of a big thing
I
in our
make
diet right
deviled
now.
eggs every week. I do a huge batch in the Instant Pot, and then yeah, that way I can take a couple to work with me every single day.
Now you'd say in the instant you're making hard boiled eggs in the
I
instant
do the
pot.
hard boiled eggs in the Instant Pot, and then of
Then you're
course I will make them
making the
into
mix.
deviled eggs. Yeah, I did learn that you can buy pre-shelled hard-boiled eggs at the grocery store. It's a glorious thing. It's just in a bag. They're already hard-boiled. They're already shelled. They're beautiful, but they didn't taste as great.
Right. Well, I can't imagine
They
that.
were just bland. Like I had to use so much salt on them, so I had to go back to the Instant
Like,
Pot and using
think
our
about. I
eggs.
mean, they're taking the same eggs that are coming off the assembly line, going through, and then they got to probably treat them some
They're
way
doing
to keep
something.
them
I mean, they weren't bad. They
preserved.
were just flavorless and bland, and
Yeah.
ours are so
You
flavorful,
can
our eggs.
definitely like taste the difference between ours and store bought
And you can
eggs
see
from
the
the bag.
difference if you were to take
Yes.
ours and put it, crack it in a bowl and then put a store bought one crack it and put it in a bowl and put them side by side. Our yolk is very vibrant in color, and that one is very dull in color. However, I have learned that they're starting to inject chickens with some kind of a vitamin, maybe what's in carrots, to make the yolk more orange.
Really?
So it's like it's like a perception, because they know that we're catching on, and that we know the more orange the yolk, the healthier the chicken. And so they're starting to inject them with something, and I can't think of it off the top of my head.
it
Maybe we
orange
could
dye?
put it in the show notes. No, it is a vitamin, but
Okay.
it's, you know how like when you give kids too many carrots, they turn
Yeah.
their skin turns orange. That's what it is. That's
Same
what they're
concept?
doing to these chickens, to kind of give us a false perception of that it's a better egg, but it's really not.
I feel like we need to be careful, or else the egg conglomerate's going to hear this and come and try to shut us down.
Gonna shut us down. Us and all of our tens of listeners are going down.
We're revealing secrets. So if this is the last time you heard from us, check
They
Purdue
got us.
on the end of after this. So I guess that leads us to the next question, like, what do we feed our chickens? We've kind of briefly talked a little bit about what
Yeah.
it is, but there's just a general feed that has the basic vitamins, stuff like that, in any Tractor Supply store. Some pet stores may have something, but you don't want to feed the birds just bird feed. There's specific food that also provides nutrients for the hens that are laying, because they need to have a diet that's high in calcium, because that's what their eggs are made out of. The shell of the egg is made
Can
out of.
you just give them what we eat? Because I know we always give them our leftovers, but could that sustain them, or they need to have a special feed?
As long as they can forage. If they can forage out in the grass food, and they can kind of eat the greens, the natural greens, the bugs, and all that kind of stuff that they go through, yeah, they can survive just on that and our scrap foods. They easily could definitely do that. But you want to, because, just like we would take supplements to kind of help ourselves out, that's what their food is. Their food kind of provides their supplements. Also, giving them just straight up like oyster shells, and break down things to build up the calcium, so that their shells, the shells of the eggs, are stronger and more sustainable, I guess, so to speak, to kind of get through that. But yeah, we feed them everything. There are some foods that you got to be careful about. Like, I know, like grapes and stuff like that, you have to cut them in half so they will
You don't want
choke
them
a
to
chicken.
choke.
But yeah, there's
And
really not a lot
some
of
random things are poisonous. So whenever we're not sure, we just simply go on Google and say,
it.
"Can you feed, lima beans to chickens?" or whatever it is. Because if you've never fed it to them before, just do a quick Google check, and instantly you'll know whether it's poisonous or safe to give to them.
One of the best things during the summer, when we're done with our watermelons, we put
They
the
love
skins. They
to
go
finish the
town on
watermelons.
watermelon.
They'll eat the inside of that
It's be
skin out till it's just paper thin.
They'll eat everything that's really edible. They will devour it and take care of all that.
That and corn on the cob.
They will
love
take care
corn
of
on the
something.
cob.
They're gonna be so disappointed this summer, because we're not gonna have
We're
a lot
done
of
with
corn
it.
on the cob.
Yep.
What a shame. Poor birds.
Yep.
They don't know how to take care of that. So, some other things. What are some other random questions that people have?
People ask if they fly.
Yes and no. They don't fly very far. It's actually really funny to watch a chicken run, because it looks like in their heart of hearts that they
want
are
to.
going to
Yeah.
fly, and they're running. They got their fat little legs and their little chest just bouncing back and forth, and they're trying to get, but they will
It is
like
pretty funny.
jump up and go. So they don't fly so much as they can hop, and they can slow down their descent when they come falling down. But no, it is true. Chickens do not fly
No,
at all.
not more than a little bit.
Not more than a very little bit.
And how long can we expect the chickens to live and or to lay eggs?
Okay, that's a great question,
Are these
because
two different questions?
they are two
Okay.
very different questions, and this is where things start to get a little difficult when you start to get your own backyard flock, because a chicken will live anywhere from 8 to 15 years depending on the breed. So that's a very long time, and that is a long commitment if you want to make that kind of commitment to the birds. If you're going to keep them as pets, that's a long time. But they only lay eggs for maybe 3.5 years.
Oh, that's really short
It's a
compared to their lifespan.
Completely different number.
Do we have a bunch of birds out there that aren't producing?
No, we don't. We have
good.
taken care of the flock. We've gone through it, because what happens is, uh, chicken will start laying eggs when they get to be about 6 months old,
Okay.
and they'll lay pretty regularly. Most breeds can lay up to 200 eggs a year,
So they do like 5 a week, you would say, right?
give or take 4 or 5 a
Okay.
week, when they're healthy and regular, going through that. Once they get to the age of 3 or 4, that starts to fall off, and now it might get to the point where it's like one a week or something like that. And they might continue to lay throughout the rest of their life, but now it's like once a week, once every
Right.
2 or 3 weeks.
Just
But another thing that
periodically.
happens is when they're all flocked together, they tend to get on the same schedule.
Oh, so the ones that aren't laying will make the ones that are laying
Correct.
not lay as well?
They can influence that kind of thing going on there. Same reason, like if one chicken is what we said broody and is starting to get, the body temperature starting to heat up and they're starting to sit on a nest a lot, that influences the other chickens to become broody. When they become broody and they're ready to hatch eggs, they stop laying eggs because
Oh,
now
yeah, that makes sense.
all their body, everything that's going on in their body is now designed to protect eggs, not create eggs anymore. So if you had a flock of a bunch of older birds, the younger ones are going to follow suit. It's just something the way that God has designed them in a very unique way. So if you're going to keep backyard chickens as pets, be aware they're going to live for a very long time.
Right.
If you're going to keep them as a source of food, yeah, after that third, fourth, fifth year, you're going to have to, like we say,
Give them to a friend who has a farm.
correct. And we have done that. There have
Yeah,
been,
we're pretty lucky to have that.
in our second year of that, where we had some birds who have gone to another farm, and now we're going through. We actually have 4 chicks now to kind of replace that group of hens that we had to say goodbye to. But it's just the natural scheme of life. Someone else is enjoying them now. maybe
Ever?
maybe KFC style, but I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully not. They're probably not good at that point.
They probably aren't.
Yeah. Probably the last thing that people find fascinating, if you come into our kitchen, we have this spiral rack, and I think it was really
It's
designed
actually
for
for Keurigs. It's
well,
for
for the little cappuccino ones.
the little cups for the Keurig
Yeah.
machines. Yeah.
That's what it's designed for. But what we do is we put our eggs on it. So we have this beautiful spiral rack of different colored eggs, and people are horrified that our eggs are not in the refrigerator where they ought to be, right? But isn't it true that only Americans put their eggs in the refrigerator?
One thing, only Americans put their eggs in the refrigerator, but that's because of how the plants, how they're processed through the plant. So
Right.
because once you wash an egg, you have taken away its own protective barrier. You need to put that thing in a refrigerator. That helps keep it safe, protected,
And it
all that
shortens
stuff.
the shelf life of it as well.
Does shorten the shelf life significantly. If you do not wash an egg can sit on your counter for up to 2 months, 8 weeks,
Yeah.
without going bad. Because
So when I give people eggs, I'll just give it to them in a carton and say, don't refrigerate them. But if you do, don't take them out of the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Like once you set the temperature cold, as you put it in the
once you
refrigerator,
start that process,
then you
you
have
have to
to just
keep
leave them in the
following that
refrigerator.
process down.
So I can bring them to people at work, and they're fine to sit out all day long. And people get so nervous about it. Like, are you sure they're going to be okay? I promise. I never put my eggs in the fridge. It's fine. But there are times, because they're nasty birds, that you collect the eggs and you have to wash them. Sometimes
Yeah.
there's some gross stuff on them. So that's fine. We just wash them, and then we put them in an egg container and put them in the refrigerator. And those we try and just eat first to get them out of the fridge.
Yeah, so it is fun to have that beautiful little display. Like I said, we have a bunch of different colored eggs, and,
Yeah.
and so we get to go through all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a different kind of life. It definitely we go through seasons where we get way more eggs than other seasons.
Yeah, and then we bless people with them.
Birds are very finicky.
People
like,
love getting eggs because they just look so different. People open the box, they're like,
They're
oh my
like,
gosh, there's
"Ooh."
green and blue and speckled and brown, and they are beautiful eggs.
Yeah, and it's fun to say, this is a gift straight from my chicken's bottom.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
from us to you.
He loves to say that.
Yeah, it's the pet that poops your breakfast.
Yeah. And we often get, and I guess at the grocery store, they can't do this because they all have to be the same size to fit in the container. But it's pretty common to get a double yolk egg where you
Oh,
get like the
yeah.
bigger egg and there's 2 yolks. And
That's
yeah,
so
that's a
bizarre.
win.
When you get that one, first of all, you feel bad for the chicken Like, oh man, she had to put that egg out, and it was not a
Oh.
normal process for her because it's a much bigger egg. Crack it
Yeah,
open,
you can see it. Well, you
and it's
can
got
tell before you crack it. This
double
is a
yolk.
double yolk
Now
egg.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for this time. I've seen this online because what happens when you get backyard chickens, you then go on Facebook and you become a part of different groups that take care of backyard chickens because we farmers need to connect. This is what we do. It's a solitary lifestyle. We try to
I
get
am
out there
in
and
no
share.
such group.
So I have seen out there, they're not just double yolk eggs, but an egg inside an egg.
Is it still in the shell?
Yeah. So they're cracking the big egg open, expecting it to, and
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a fully formed another egg inside of that.
Okay. We will have a whole separate episode if that ever happens.
I've been dying for that. It's been a while since we've had the double yolk.
Yeah,
I
for a
think that
while
hen,
we had it
like,
frequently.
yeah,
I think it
every
must
few
have been the
weeks we had it.
same hen that kept giving
She
them
must
to
have been,
us.
yeah. She must have been.
That was a win.
Something special.
And that's when I was tracking too. So I'd be like, oop, that's just one egg. Win for me.
Like just the manipulating the system. But
That's
I'm
it.
waiting for the egg inside an egg. Oh, it would be a glorious day.
That would be, I don't know if I would eat that.
The inside egg,
The inside egg is clean. I would eat that. The other egg,
the
I
egg
don't.
on the outside.
Yeah, because it's sitting around a shell.
What really stinks is you can't keep it at that point in time because you've already cracked it, you've broken it, you can't fit it open, so you can't really show off. No one else really knows.
Well, that's true.
But when we see an abnormally large egg,
We'll
we'll
have to
definitely be
record
taking
every time we
pictures.
have a large egg from now on. See if we get that
Been a while.
special
Hopefully,
egg.
these new hens coming up and
Yeah.
can give us some fun stuff to go on with that.
So yeah, that's our life as backyard chicken owners.
Farmer, we are farmers, full-fledged farmers.
Yeah, Sam would like to get a goat.
I would love to get a goat.
I would like
A
to have
couple
feta
goats.
cheese, but probably not by owning a goat.
How do you make feta cheese out of the goat? Is
Well, it's
feta
goat's
cheese?
milk.
Is that like
It's a goat's milk
directly?
cheese.
Is it feta cheese? Is good.
Yeah, but I don't want to go. I just want to go to Whole Foods and get some feta.
I want a goat so I don't have to mow the yard. I can just let the
Yeah,
goat.
sounds
Goats
like-
are ornery though. We had the goats a couple years back for the. We had a live nativity.
Yes.
Goats by nature they're just curious. They are smart. They're smart
They're
animals.
not nice.
But they're always trying to figure a way out. They're explored. They like to explore everything. They were so hard to keep control over because
Yeah, we
they
don't-
were constantly
we don't need
looking
that
to
in
get
our
something
lives.
else. Definitely not. But man, they're cute. And little like we could do goat yoga classes in the back.
What?
Have you heard goat yoga?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but we're not doing that.
Well, because we don't have goats.
No,
We can't
that's
do that.
definitely why we're not doing that, because we don't have goats.
And I don't do well with yoga poses. Man, it's so
No.
hard. I can do like standing warrior or whatever that one is, where you just kind of put your arms out to the side and spread your legs. That's the one I own.
Own is a loose term for how you do that pose.
I love how you build up my confidence.
Thanks, babe. So anyway, yeah, that's our little experience with some backyard chicken. So if you're thinking of getting some, it is worthwhile. I mean, it's fun. You
It's-
have to want to do it.
You have to want to do it.
I
It
would
does
never
take work.
succeed on my own, but since you like to do it, I will go, gladly give them the leftovers, or when I'm chopping veggies, I give them the scraps, and that's about as much influence as I want to have.
And it's great for guests. Like we love having people
Yeah,
over.
we actually
the
had a
kids.
bunch of kids over today. We had a couple families over for dinner, and the kids love to go see the chickens, and they love to see us feed the chickens, and they love to feed them.
They love to check the eggs. Like how often in
Yes.
life do you get to go into, a chicken coop and pick out eggs and stuff like that? So for us, it's become a little bit more than just our home stop for breakfast, but it's
Yeah.
a nice way to kind of let little kids get involved and, it
Especially
creates
when they're
conversation.
quiet and shy and they've never been here. All you have to say is, do you want to go outside and see the chickens
They're
and
like,
see if they
"What?"
have laid some eggs? And best friends, they're
Yeah.
super, that boom, they're out of their shell right away. So it is a pretty fun thing to have.
Yeah, and you're definitely invited because chances are, if you're listening to this, you know us personally. So, come over, check out our chickens. We'll be happy to show them off and give you an egg or two to walk away from, do your own home
And if you
comparison.
have backyard chickens, post some
Oh.
pictures of, your coop setup, your chickens. If you have any tips and tricks for us. I know Sam loves to kind of connect with other people who have
Yep,
chickens.
I love
He's
it.
always taking different tips and advice and trying different things. So yeah, we want to see what you've got at your house, and if you have something different like goats, post that too.
Oh, definitely share the goats pictures. The cuter the better, because I need to try to convince Joyce to let me
If
get
you
the
have
goats.
a pig, I want to see it. I don't want a pig, but I want to see yours.
There was a time the boys I wanted a little pot milk.
Yeah, I don't, but I want to see it if you have.
So hey, share if you have tips. Share it with us. Let's grow our Doing Life chicken community. Maybe we'll have to create a separate page. Doing Life with chickens.
We'll see about that one.
Well, hey, thanks for listening. Like and share, and we'll talk to you next week.